Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's review, thanks to the team over at Zavvi, we're going to be taking an early look at the upcoming Transformers Studio Series 86 movie Deluxe class, Jazz. Now if you're on the market for picking Jazz or any of the other 86 Studio Series figures up, then I will of course leave a pre-order link down in the description box below where you can pre-order these figures and of course add them to your collection. Starting off here firstly by taking a look at the packaging, you can see that we have a fantastic window view display of Jazz with his accessory on clear display. I absolutely love the artwork for Jazz here. You can see that in my opinion he looks terrific. We have the astonishing Transformers movie 86 logo there, Autobot Jazz Studio Series. As we take a look here at the side of the packaging, we have a close-up image of the character himself with the numbering of 8601. The 86 movie figures do appear to be a subline within the Studio Series, so all of them will be 8601, 8602, so no matter which figure you pick up, you will of course always get 86 as the main number. As we take a look here at the back of the packaging, we have an awesome image of him in both robot mode as well as vehicle mode, as well as a very brief bio. Autobot Jazz makes a futile escape as Unicron devours Moonbase 1. And as we take a look here at the other side of the packaging, once again we have a really awesome image of Jazz with that 86 numbering. Out of all of these 86 movie figures, Jazz here was for sure the one that I was most looking forward to, as I know many of you are, as he's really one of the characters that we have wanted so badly from our War for Cybertron trilogy. However, he is now finally making his debut in the Studio Series line. So without further ado, let's crack him open and see what awaits us inside. Taking a look here at the included diorama, it is of course that of Moonbase 1, as this is where we primarily see Jazz throughout the majority of the movie. Just giving you a very quick rundown of this, you can see that very similarly to some of the live action movies, we do of course get the logo here on the base as well as 8601 as the numbering, and of course Transformers Studio Series. Out of all of the backdrops to be released for these 86 movie figures, I for sure do believe that this one here is my personal favourite. I just absolutely love the colour palette as well as the overall design, and bringing both Jazz and of course Cliffjumper here into the equation, I think that this perfectly captures the appearance from the movie, where both of them do realise that Unicron is vastly approaching to devour their base. And so taking a look here at Jazz in his robot mode, it truly does seem as if though it has taken an eternity to finally get an updated, more G1 accurate representation of the character into our collections. The last time I believe we saw this character was in the Power of the Primes line, and personally to me, I did not think that that figure looked all that great whatsoever. Upon comparing this new Studio Series 86 version to that of his on-screen character model, I honestly do believe that Hasbro and Takara Tomy have done a fantastic job in basically capturing the design and replicating it here in a plastic format, even down to the tiny little circular sections that we do get on Jazz's blaster. I think that robot mode proportions as well as details are all fantastic. Taking a look here at the details, you can see that in terms of Jazz's head sculpt, I really do believe that the sculpt is incredibly crisp and precise. We've got an amazing metallic silver there for the main faceplate, and the mouth and the nose can clearly be seen. I'm a huge fan of the colour of baby blue paint that they've used for the visor, and the actual sculpt work to the main helmet in my opinion has come out really nicely. Unfortunately for me, I do have a slight moulding defect, however it's nothing that I'll be losing sleep about. And as we take a look here towards the back of the head, you can once again see that the surface detailing does of course continue. Whilst on the topic of the back, you may notice that they have opted to go for animation accuracy than as opposed to toy accuracy, which in my opinion I have no issue with this whatsoever, as of course the Studio Series line sets out to give you the best representations of the characters as they appeared on screen, and not necessarily in terms of their toys. There is no real way for you to actually get the door wings to sit out to the sides unless you were to do something which looked along the lines of this. However, in my opinion, I don't think that this here looks all that great whatsoever, especially there from a front perspective. And one thing to note is that the backpack is indeed incredibly accurate to what we actually see in the show as well. So that once again does show you that not only are they able to refine the sculpt and better match the character's on-screen appearance, but they're also managing the back kibble, in my opinion, a lot better than they have in previous lines. As we take a look here for the top section, you can see that we've got all of this sculpted in surface detailing, as well as the blue and Autobot insignia paint apps there at the top. We also do have this red lining around the front bumper, and the headlights have been picked out in that same blue that we saw for the visor, with a metallic silver here for the front grille. As we lift the arm section up, you can see that we've got some fantastic sculpted in detailing actually on the armpit area of Jazz, which is something that I was not expecting whatsoever. As we take a look there for the shoulders, the sculpt work too does continue, as so does the sculpt work here for the forearms, and you can clearly see all of the fingers individually sculpted in there as well. As we take a look here for the torso, we've got this fantastic metallic silver section with some blue highlights here in order to better match the animation model. And as we take a look here down to the thighs and shins, you can once again see some really nice panel lining detailings, as well as some fantastic silver highlights there for the shins, and then finally here for the feet. One thing to note is that out of all of these 86 movie figures, this one here for sure feels as if though he was a part of the War for Cybertron trilogy, and I say that because he actually has the most hollow spaces on him out of all of the figures in the line. You can see that we do have some hollow gaps here for the arms, but they have indeed detailed the interior, and the same can also be said head here for the inner sections of the legs. Personally for me, I don't necessarily think that it looks all that bad, and it really doesn't detract from the overall awesomeness that this figure does certainly admit. But would have I liked to have seen them perhaps cover some of these areas up? Of course I would. In terms of articulation, we do get a ball joint here at the head, so this can look left to right as well as up and down. It can also tilt side to side as well. We do get a full 360 rotation here at the arm, as well as a hinge joint there out to the sides. We do get a full 360 rotation here at the bicep, as well as a 90-degree bend there at the elbow. Unfortunately, no form of wrist rotation, and once again, this is something that I really do think that they could have put into this figure. We do get a full 360 rotation here at the waist. The legs can kick forwards that far, as well as back to about that far. He can also do the splits to a great degree, and we also do get a very tight swivel here at the thigh. We do get a single joint here at the knee. However, if you disengage the transformation locking mechanism, we can actually get a double bend out of that, which in my opinion is fantastic. And then finally, turning here to the feet, the front toe here can pivot forwards and backwards due to transformation, and we of course do get ankle rocker pivot side to side. So overall, in terms of detail, sculpt work, as well as articulation for a deluxe class, I think that it is really well done. And as stated, there is no denying that, at least in my opinion, this is one of the best mainline versions of Jazz that we have ever gotten. In terms of accessories, Jazz does only come with one blaster. However, you can see that the sculpt work on this particular piece has come out really nicely and definitely does match its on-screen model. You can see that it has been cast in a white plastic with some silver paint decos for the main section of the blaster, and as we take a look here to the opposite side, it is once again very similar to the previous side. In terms of actually pegging it into the figure's hand, of course we can take the 5mm port and just snap that in there, and you can see that in terms of proportions, I really do think that that looks fantastic with the character. Or you could take it off here and utilize any of the pegs and store it onto the back. Personally, I don't necessarily like doing this all that much, but it is definitely an option. Here for an Autobot size comparison, we have Deluxe Class Jazz next to some Netflix figures, Siege figures, and of course Earthrise releases. And personally, I think that he scales really nicely with these particular figures. I think that it's fantastic that despite these figures being branded and packaged under the Studio Series lineup, that they are still in perfect scale with the likes of our War for Cybertron trilogy. Turning to the transformation here for Jazz, this is once again where I truly do believe that this figure was meant to be packaged under the War for Cybertron brand, as the complexity to the conversion is nowhere near as sophisticated as some of the 86 movie figures. However, that is not to say that the transformation is bad whatsoever. To begin with, you're going to want to take the arms here and just rotate them to the sides, and then of course fold up the fists. We can repeat the same process here on the opposite side. We can then turn our attention here to this back section, lift this piece up, and then you're just going to want to fold the doors out. I recommend applying some pressure to this white section, which will then allow you to pull this entire piece all the way out just like so. With that now done, we can turn our attention here down to the lower section. You're going to want to compress the toes in and ensure that the ankle rocker joints are completely flush and neutral. We can then take these pieces, and you can see that this white tab does actually groove in between a black section. So you're going to want to unhook it from this piece and rotate it all the way up until you feel some resistance. Of course, just lift that section back up. So just rotate this section here all the way around. We can then take the knees and untab them. You can see how we do have this tab that does peg into the slot. So just detach that and fold this all in upon itself. Of course, repeat the exact same process here on the opposite side, and then bring these sections together and snap them in there nice and securely. We can then turn our attention here to the torso. So for this, I recommend rotating this section here around. You're then going to want to take this piece and lift this section up. Whilst you do that, you're then going to want to bring this piece here and fold this in, as that will actually allow for some clearance for you to bring this head section here all the way in, and then rotate it there to the back. Once that's done, we can take this here and just snap this section into place. You're then going to want to rotate where these white struts are and hold this silver piece at the same time. So grasp this section and then just rotate this here all the way around. In my opinion, that is one of the more sophisticated steps of the conversion, and you can see how they've actually sculpted as well as painted in this section, which in my opinion is a really nice attention to detail. We can then take the arms here, and you're going to want to align them up in a configuration which looks like this. We can then proceed to fold this section here all the way in, and basically this section is going to rest in between on the back of this tab. So just take this and snap that in there. It will more or less just groove into place, and of course repeat the exact same process here on the opposite side. So just snap that in there nice and securely. With that now done, you're of course just going to want to rotate the waist joint up appropriately, ensure that everything is nicely tabbed and aligned. We can then come to this entire section, and you're just basically going to want to collapse this here all the way down and just snap that in there appropriately. There are two tabs here and here that will peg into two slots on this transparent piece, so just align those up appropriately and snap them into place. You can see how we do have a tab and a slot here, so once again, just align these up appropriately, clip them into place, and ensure that all of that is nice and flush, and once again aligned up appropriately. Come here to this side and repeat the exact same process. And here we have Jazz fully transformed up into his awesome looking Porsche, but yet not Porsche looking alt mode. And I say that because this figure doesn't have any licenses on it whatsoever, obviously to avoid copyright. And a clear sign of this is them actually changing the numbering from 4 to 14. So we do not have the animation accurate 4 on the side of the door. However, personally, that is just merely a minor gripe. And as I'll be displaying this figure in robot mode, it doesn't bother me all that much whatsoever. And for the most part, I do think that this does a really nice job in actually capturing his appearance from that of the 86 movie and of course the G1 cartoon series. You can see that we've got some really nice paint applications going along here for the hood section of the car. We've also got some fantastic sculpt work as well, and I really do love the transparent clear blue plastic that they've used for the front windscreen, the side windows, and then of course this entire section here. You all know that I'm a huge fan of transparent plastic, and I really do think that it has been used here really well. One thing to note also is that they have pretty much colour matched the colour of white paint to the actual moulded in plastic, so we don't have any issues like we saw on the likes of the Earthrise Sunstreaker. And as we take a look here towards the side, you can see that all of the hubcaps have been painted in a really nice silver. It is unfortunate that this one here is on one of those clips which has been unpainted. However, really I don't think that it looks all that bad whatsoever. And as we take a look here towards the back, you can see that we do have the rear spoiler and the feet here clearly hiding out. I maybe would have liked to have seen them actually fold them up into this section. However, nonetheless, for the most part, I think that the vehicle mode looks really, really awesome. In terms of rolling, he does roll really well as well. However, once again, you will have to ensure that the figure is transformed up precisely, otherwise you will be unable to actually roll him along the ground, especially where these forearm sections are concerned. If you don't have them tabbed in and pushed in all of the way, you will certainly find some friction on the front wheels especially, so definitely be cautious of that. But overall, in terms of vehicle mode, similarly to robot mode, I think that it is pretty much spot on to what we see in the animation. Here for a very quick deluxe class size comparison, we have our Studio Series Jazz compared next to that of the Earthrise Bumblebee, and for the most part, I do think that these figures here scale rather nicely with one another. The Volkswagen definitely does look a little bit on the shorter side than what it should do in real life compared to a Porsche. However, I am not a car enthusiast, so can neither confirm nor deny it, but you can just see that in terms of a bird's eye perspective, Jazz is for sure substantially bigger than compared to that of the Earthrise Bumblebee. And so, some final thoughts. As you could probably guess already from this review, this particular version of Jazz is certainly a smash hit for me. I have wanted an updated version of Jazz ever since the War for Cybertron trilogy was announced, and with each chapter, Siege, Earthrise, and then of course Kingdom, we never actually got an official announcement. I personally did believe that we were actually going to see him in Earthrise, as I do believe his character art was actually teased on the packaging. However, that was something that unfortunately we never saw realised until the Studio Series 86 movie figures came. I really do believe that in terms of robot mode, he is pretty much spot on to that of his character model, even down to the actual small ports on Jazz's blaster. Of course, he may be missing some paint applications, mainly concerning these sections here on the legs. However, it is a very small and minute detail that personally I have no issue with whatsoever. The articulation too, I also think is really well done. The detailing, the paintwork has also come out really nicely. The transformation, whilst is certainly a little bit more simplistic than what we are used to from some of these 86 movie figures, I for sure think gets the job done. Robot mode as well as vehicle mode, in my opinion, both look ace. And of course, if you are collecting the War for Cybertron figures, you are going to want to add Jazz to your collection, as he is one of the essential Autobot team members. With all that being said, if you are in the market for picking this figure up, he is available to pre-order right now over at Zavvi, and for that, of course, I will leave a link down in the description box below. I want to say a massive thank you to Zavvi for once again sending this figure to me ahead of schedule in order for me to give you a review. I really do hope that you enjoyed this review. If you did, please do let me know down in the comment section below. Also, be sure to let me know on what you think of the figure itself, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.